It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So in front of us we have a Carter No.7 plane. It's made in Australia. It says so back here. We know it's a No.7 because it's there on the actual casting, and we know it's a Carter because it says it right there and right there. Now, if you've been following what I've been doing recently, you would know that we've been working on a 40% wrist rest. It's had some challenges, but we've learnt a lot along the way. We've also learnt about using the scraper, the 80 scraper. In particular, I'm using the record scraper here. And we've also built a shooting board, which is over here. Now, the next step is that I wanted to make a plane specifically to use with the shooting board, which we're going to convert this No.7 into that and add a hot dog handle to it. So just to recap on that, shooting planes typically sit sideways and allow you to slide so you can actually cut end grain of boards this way. Now, a hot dog is something as a grip that can be made and attached to the actual plane, so you've actually got something to grip on, because that's not very comfortable and it causes this to flop around, and that doesn't work either because it's not very comfortable. So something here gives you control, center of mass, where the actual blade is, and allows you to move as well as apply pressure to the end grain. So that's the idea. But as you can see, this Carter No.7 plane is in a very sorry state. So we're going to try and clean it up and do a bit of restoration. It's very rusty, obviously needs a bit of work. The tote handle here is actually damaged as well. So in this part of the video, let's give it a disassemble, talk through the parts, and see what we can get out of it before I start doing, rust removal, cleaning, sharpening, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, I do have some WD-40 here to help me if I need it, and of course, I'm going to put on gloves. So one of the things that I've learned through my work is safety, obviously, being very important. Gloves on first, so that you don't have any other contamination, especially because if we're going to be playing with the WD-40 and rusty bits and pieces. Now, in terms of describing the parts, we've obviously got the main body of the plane itself, and the sole is the bottom here. At the front, we've got the knob. At the back, this handle portion is called the tote. Now in the middle, this is the lever cap. It's got a lever on it and it's a cap. And what it does is it sits and applies pressure down onto this assembly, which is really interesting that it doesn't sit straight through. You have to angle it through that. See, it's getting caught a little bit on there. This front bit here is called the chip breaker, although it technically doesn't actually break any chips. And the back of it is the actual plane iron, or the bit that is doing the cutting. So that's the plane iron there, and this is the chip breaker. The chip breaker has an angle here, and it helps deflect shavings up and away, as well as the fact that it supports the blade, stops it from bouncing around and chattering, and all of that's kept in place with pressure with the actual lever cap. So let's just put that back gently. I'm just going to put some bits and pieces in there, and that way I won't lose them. Now, this assembly here in the middle, so there's a lever here, and the purpose of this lever is to allow the plane iron to be adjusted left and right, so it can be straight and cutting true and flush and evenly. Of course, that's just a screw. Well, I don't know if that's actually bent or not, but that holds the assembly for the lever cap to apply the pressure down. Is that bent? It's bent. There you go. Look at that. That's bent. I don't know how detrimental that is to everything, but it might still be okay. I'm not sure how easy it is to get that. I'd have to find out what that actual that screw thread is. And this bit here is called the frog, and that frog assembly can also be moved back and forwards, so that, in theory anyway, from what I've been led to believe, depending on the model, will allow you to align the iron that sits against the back here to the actual mouth of the plane. So there is 2 screws here that you can see. It's there we go. It's got some grease there, which is always a good thing. So we can lift that out. They look like they're in pretty okay condition, all things considering. So let's drop them in there so we don't lose it. It's a lot of dust, dirt, wood dust here by the looks of it. And that's opened up quite nicely, so I might not need too much of the lubricant here. Okay, so there's a washer there with that. We'll drop that in there. And look at that. That is just comes straight out. Fantastic. So this one doesn't have an adjustable frog in that some models there's a set screw at the back here, which there is nothing there because that looks like it's just grime and casted in. That allows you to actually move this back and forth, whereas this has just got some open slots that allows you to manually move that back and forth. So there's no fine adjustment here by the looks of it at all. So this is an adjustment lever. So by moving this back and forth, it tilts this rocker arm that pushes the blade or lifts the blade on how deep that cut is going to be. Now that is riveted in, so I'm not going to be able to pop that out. So all of this is going to have to be done in one sort of clean go. Now, in theory, I should be able to back this all the way out, and this screw should come out, and that rocker arm will just allow me to get that screw out so I can clean that off. There we go. It's coming out quite nicely. Very straightforward. Okay. Oh, there it goes. And is that going to let me? Okay, so it's got a pin that holds it in place. We can sort of just see the end of the pin there and the end of the pin there. Now that's been pined over and it's holding it in place. So once again, I'm not going to try and remove that and clean this off independently. I'm just going to have to do it in place as best I can. Now this is the original blue color that a lot of the record plane equipment, woodworking equipment is the color of. I actually don't know what color Carters were of its time. I've seen the brand before, but I've never really seen any in good condition Carters. I've seen one that was green, so the fact that this has actually got a blue on it is really interesting. Right, so let's get that very dirty bit into there and carefully into there. Now, the tote and the knob. So let's start with the knob. Oh, okay, so that's the whole thing is turning. All right, that's good, that's good. So that's just come out completely, and while that's actually stuck in there, let me see if that will... I don't want to go too hard and potentially damage it, but I can live with that. I can definitely give it a bit of a scrub and a clean. I don't know what I'm going to do around the varnish and the finish on that. That's coming off, but that's okay. And then the tote. All right, so that's moving really nicely. Excellent. And then will you... Okay, we got movement, which is good. Might be bent. Doesn't feel like it's moving. Okay, so there wasn't very much thread on that at all, and that's come out straight away. Oh, it looks okay. I can clean that up. It doesn't look like it's been or maybe has it been hacksawed? Because normally it's not actually, oh, well, the actual handle itself, only this back bit seems to be broken then. Some of them I've seen that it sits a lot higher, so this could just be a really small handle. And of course, what am I going to do with that? Not quite sure yet. So let's just pop those in there. And now we've got the base, the body here, with a lot of dirt. Look at that. That's a lot of dirt. Right, so maybe let's just give it a good scrub-a-dub-dub. Okay, so I probably need a smaller brush to get really in there, but I'm going to be hitting it up anyway with a bit of cleaning with the WD-40 for the rust, so I'm not super duper concerned at this point in time for that loose particulate. Let's just get that all off the bench as well, since I'll have to sweep that up off the ground later. Okay, here we go. Bit of corrosion, but that's not too bad. So let's start with the body before we get into the small parts. Now this is a brand new can. It's a pump trigger spray version instead of an aerosol, and the reason why I decided to go for that was because it would give me a bit more life out of it, I guess, since, am I supposed to just turn it? Okay. There we go. Instead of the aerosol potentially running out and being a bit of a pain. Now I'm not sure, okay, I think I've just closed it to a no spray position. Good job, me. First time using this can. So now that should be the narrow spray position, I believe. Just trying to read the symbols on the top. Just says to press tab and turn. Okay, so you've actually got to press the tab down and then turn. Right. Okay, so just apply some there. It's still got quite a bit of spray, as you can see on the bench top here, and just give it a bit of a run in to soak it. Alright, so while that's doing its thing, maybe, in theory, I don't know, maybe let's clean up some of these while we're at it. Alright. Real smart. But that's okay. Alright. How do we go with that? Did that take a lot off? Oh yeah. That's taking quite a bit off there on the bottom. You can actually see some shiny silver metal color, which is nice. Look at that. That bit down there is starting to show up some of that metal color. It's clean up those threads some. Seems to be some gunk in there, so I'm going to use scraper. Just to get some of that out where I can. I can hear the letterbox, so my daughter is back from school. So they're going to be coming here in just a few moments, and then they're going to be poking around going, "What are you doing, Daddy?" As they often do. Alright, let's try and scrub some of this off now that I've kind of loosened it up with that. Okay, let's give that rest of that a brush down. Look at the difference on that. It's got a really nice color to that. I need really like a bit of scrap. I can rest that on. There we go. Yeah, that color's coming up nicely. I could probably get there a bit faster if I'm using sandpaper, but this is, I suppose, well, not really wasteful, but as in sandpaper being a bit more wasteful if you're going to be consuming the sandpaper. Whereas this, I suppose, is also a bit less damaging, less abrasive, because we're not taking off any of the actual hard material, rather than just removing, you know, the patina and any of that loose kind of rust on top. So let's just give that a squirt into my hands so I can just rub that down. Yeah, there we go. Lovely, 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 lovely. Okay, so now you can still see a lot of that stuff is coming off, but that's kind of going to give it a little bit of a protective coat on it. I probably should have thought about a second container, which I don't have here at the moment. I've got another one of these yogurt tubs that is in the house, so I might actually grab that afterwards and I can transfer this into that. Okay, so for the moment, let's just put it aside. And let's see how much this side will clean up. Yep, still looks pretty rusty to me. The internet may have lied to me about how effective WD-40 is at removing rust. I mean, it's had a good amount of time to penetrate, but maybe what I should do is get that bit of sandpaper and give it a run for its sanding life. All right. Just gonna grab a random sheet. There we go. Some 100 grit should do it. Let's just let me think about, because I did it wrong last time, because that is not going to be enough to get over that, is it? Oh, that one I only got one side on, so let's see if I've got enough on a full sheet to fold over. We do. Okay, so let's come on. There we go. So now it's getting to be nice and smooth. So I can see that it's definitely cleaning up along this top edge here. There's still, you know, quite a bit of the rust there, but let's just see if this will help get rid of some of that. You can see it's actually left the tracks here, which means it's definitely doing something. Look at that. It really has actually taken more of the sanded off rust from it, which is nice. So we're getting down into that. Probably going to need more paper towels. All right, well, that one's had it. Of course, if I had a sandblaster, I'd probably, or an angle grinder / grinding wheel, this might probably go a little bit easier and better. I mean, I've got the wire wheels actually from, when I was doing the other one, so I might give that a try actually on the other side. But we'll see how this turns out on this side and the amount of effort on it. It's very slow going, to be honest with you. I was expecting it to potentially work a little bit easier than that, but I guess at least putting the WD-40 on now is going to arrest any additional corrosion on the plane. I mean, I've managed to get it on all of the sides now. It's just been leaking and seeping through, which is okay. I mean, if it's going to help lift any of this stuff anyway, then sure, why not? That's just so I can't get the sanding block, of course, inside there. It's just not going to fit, so I'm going to have to go a bit old school. Now this blue coat of paint is not really I mean, it's kind of like a Japanning, but it's not, because the Japanning traditionally would have been just a black coat. So the fact that it's a blue coat is just some kind of metal paint, I would call it, rather than an actual, true Japanning. Yeah. So Japanning is just the phrase used for the I suppose almost enamel-like kind of coating that was produced and put on the black metal equipment of the time as a replica of lacquerware from Japan, the resin. And my understanding is it is a asphalt, bitumen, petroleum-based resin mix, typically with a solvent like turpentine or other things of that nature from that period, plus things like linseed oil and whatnot that helped cure and harden that oil. Just seeing if this brush has got a bit better teeth to get into those corners. No, it does not. I might just have to use a screwdriver to really scrape out into those hard to get corners. Now this one came to me from somebody in Tasmania, all the way down south Tasmania. Goodness knows where it'd been sitting, in a shed somewhere, in a toolbox, obviously not receiving a lot of love in many years from when it was last used. So the fact that I'm giving it a chance to enjoy life again as an actual working plane, I personally think is a nice thing. Of course, not everybody is necessarily going to agree with that, but well, too bad, so sad. Okay, So I am probably a little bit ill-equipped at the moment. It's not going as I thought it might have been, but I'm a realist and I hadn't fully expected that the WD-40 was going to make life super easy. So what I am going to do is I am going to give everything a coat of the WD-40 and just let it sit. Just let it sit there and kind of soak in a little bit. And what else I'm going to do is I'm going to charge the batteries on my drill so that I can actually come back and use the wire brush and try and take off more of this rust. Now what's really important though, what I do really do need to ensure that I don't do is take it so far out that it's not square. What's really important is that I keep the actual body, the edges of this square. So what I mean by that is I want this side of the plane to be square to the sole, because as a right-hander it's going to sit on the shooting board like this as I move it. So I need these two edges to be square, and right now they're extremely square, which is fantastic. That's exactly what I want. And any cleaning, any sanding, brushing, scraping, I need to ensure that it stays as square as possible. I mean, even this side is wonderfully square, so that I will ensure I get that 90-degree cut to the material that I am trying to shoot on the board. Okay, so now my bench is currently just contaminated with all of that, so I'm going to pop this back. Here's my box of gloves. Temporarily I'm going to hang that up, move that over there, clean up my scraper, hang that, move these out of the way and clean it down some from all this debris. I've got a bit of rag here from when I was painting the house. Maybe let's just put that at an angle to try and get as much distance as I can on it for the plane body, since it's probably going to be, just fits in that. Excellent, excellent. So let's just give it a bit of a squirt on the inside there. Just going to absolutely drown this in WD-40 now. Can you ever have too much WD-40 on something? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, I'm going to get a new bit, and what I'm going to do there is I am going to just fold it over, and what that is going to let me do, like this, I'm going to apply it and I'm going to yes, cannot pump upside down. That would be really smart to remember, that you can't, pumps don't like working upside down because the straw can't reach what it's trying to pump. Because I pumped that outside, I'm just going to try and slap that there and fold it over so it'll keep a nice contact on that. Alright. Just going to try and keep it sitting and soaking in this for a bit. Not that WD-40 is like the cheapest stuff out there in the world either, but considering how much I kind of saved on getting this in the first place, I think I can afford to be generous. I can afford to be generous and liberal with just playing with some of this. Alright, and then, well, let's just cover front and back there. Try and just keep that there. Gonna stick that up maybe, and then what we'll do at the back is we'll kind of maybe do it like this. Yeah, like that. I mean, I could have actually bought like a 4-litre tub of WD-40. They were selling it at my local Hammer Barn. Big box store. Of course, if you watch Bluey, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and of course if you're a local and you know our big box stores available, then you'll know what I'm talking about there too. Alright, so I'm going to let that sit now. I'm going to just put that on there to keep that fold over it, and that on there like that. Okay, now I've got WD-40 all over the place, but that's okay. I'm going to press down this tab and rotate. Aha! It's good when you read the instructions, eh? Alright, we're just going to wipe that down a little bit, and then we'll plonk that back on the shelf. We're going to clean up a bit now. Of course, always gloves off first so you don't contaminate other things that you touch after you have removed the dirty, contaminated gloves. There you go. Alright, so let's just get that in the bin. Okay, so that ends part 1. We're going to let that sit and soak, and at some point in time we'll also get into that. The actual screw that we did clean up, although now it's starting to get a little bit wood chippy, it's still got a nice gloss to it, but we'll just put that there until I come back and get the other bucket for these parts later. We'll let that sit and soak overnight, and then tomorrow I'll get back into it. I think I'd like to at least, and we'll keep going on trying to restore, or at least turn this Carter No.7 into a shooting board plane. So we'll catch you in the next one, and of course, as usual, happy clacking.